Yep, we're doing it. We are so doing it. We're talking about tour scores. And I was supposed to talk about tour scores last week on this fine streaming program brought to you via the internet. But it didn't happen. Nope, didn't happen. I talked precious little about tour scores last week. And the reasons shall be revealed right now by the man behind the can, the man with the plan, the man who does indeed give a damn, myself, Malcolm Tent. Yep, with this, today's episode of Tent Talks Tunes. Waka. Yeah, man, got everything I need close at hand. Got my fabulous gallon of Danbury tap. Delicious and refreshing. Delicioso y refresca. Fortified with heavy, heavy metals. Amongst them mercury, lead, cadmium. Who even knows what else? Only the former hat makers of Danbury who added those wonderful ingredients to the water table in our fair town. They know. The rest of us just have to guess. So we got a big slug of that. Got my dollar store cheater readers. All the better to see you with. And I've got my monitor over there, which I'm going to reach over and hit the refresh button and make sure that I am indeed going out live and not just talking to myself, as has happened before. Let's refresh this. Aren't you guys lucky you get to see this happening? There we go. I see me. I see me on the monitor. I see me peering past the camera at the monitor. Therefore, I must be live. Alan Versapalis says it's good to see me, so therefore I'm being seen. And if I'm seen, the odds are very good that I'm being heard. Yay! All right. Let me get a somewhat higher seat here. So yeah, last week, gang, I was going to talk about tour scores. The fine, fun stuff that you pick up when you're on the road with a rock and roll band. That is, if not half the fun, then at least pretty close to half the fun. It's a lot of fun picking up records, tapes, CDs, set lists, flyers, gig posters, autographs, all the good things that you get on tour when you're a rock and roll band. And also the things that you get in transit with a rock and roll band, like a genuine, authentic can of boiled peanuts. Oh boy, living north of the Mason-Dixon, I'm here to tell you that these are a rare commodity in a state like Connecticut. But you go down to Dixie and you can find boiled peanuts at pretty much any grocery establishment you would want, any convenience store you want. So I picked up the can, and there it is, one of my tour scores from our last run with the almighty ANTiSEEN, boiled peanuts. It's kind of like cheating. You know how it is there are certain dishes that you like to get at a restaurant, but they're not as much fun to eat at home? Boiled peanuts are kind of like that. The real joy in getting boiled peanuts is going to a gas station and dipping the ladle into the big old vat and getting yourself a big styrofoam cup of steaming hot, salty boiled peanuts. But since, as of now, that doesn't happen too often, I got to make do with what I got, and what I got is a can of boiled peanuts. I don't know if I got this at the Kroger or the Food Lion, I forget, but I got them, and that is the brand, Peanut Patch. There's not much that I would endorse, but I would endorse Peanut Patch boiled peanuts. I totally would do that. Let's see, Nick Chalsulo. Nick, you left a very cryptic comment. The comment is diseases with a question mark. Your antecedent, sir, is unclear. I know not of what you speak, so we're just going to let that pass. Unless you want to clarify, Nick. I know you're a man of action and a man of clarity, so you want to clarify? Actually, here's the thing. This is going off on a bit of a tangent right now. I need clarity on a certain issue, a certain question. You guys have to bear with me for half a second. I need to be the man behind the curtain for just a moment while I grab something I want to show you, because there's been a very interesting flurry of activity on my Discogs store, but only on my Discogs store, about a certain item. And hold on a second. I want to grab this item and show it to you guys. And I want to ask you if anybody can tell me why this is so. I'm rummaging around. I'm digging. I'm going to find it. I'm still with you guys. You can't see me, but you can hear me. So let me grab one of these from the shelf of TPOS backstock. That, of course, is TPOS backstock. Maybe you guys can help me with a mystery. But first, let's see who's checking in here. We got Cindy. Hey, Cindy. And, Nick Chalsula says, diseases, things you might get while on the road. Well, you know, Nick, if you follow a nice hygiene regimen and you pick and choose your battles very carefully, and you know what hill to die on and what hill not to die on, you will probably not get any nasty diseases, except for the inevitable creeping common cold crud, which you are almost guaranteed to get if you're on the van. You know, if y'all get in the van together and one member of the touring party has got the sniffles, everybody's going to get the sniffles before the trip is over. And I am very happy to report on this last round I did not get the creeping common cold crud, which is a real relief because the 4 times prior to that, I came home with a cold. Ugh, icky poo. But hey, you know, it wasn't diphtheria or ptomaine or dum-dum fever, you know, or any other things that are out there as a jeopardy on the road. So let's see. John Bees says, do I have any television personalities, LPs, tapes, or CDs, or anything like that available for sale? I could. I very well might. John Bess, if you send me a personal message and remind me, I will dig deep into the archive and see if I got any television personality stuff. I used to deal directly with their Scottish label years ago when I had the brick and mortar store. So it's conceivable that I still have some stock tucked away somewhere. Send me a PM and let me know. Walt Wheat. Now, it's interesting. This is really cool that Walt Wheat, guitar player for ANTiSEEN, has chimed in, because Walt Wheat and I have a sort of a gentleman's disagreement via the best state of peanut comestibles. He says biled. I say fried. Deep fried or boiled? That is a debate which has raged silently in the ANTiSEEN touring van for a couple of years now. And the issue is kind of laying dormant for a while, but, well, Walt, you're here. You're talking about, indeed, the caviar of the South, but what do you people think? You guys got any opinions on that? Should it be biled or fried? I am a fried peanut man. Oh, I love the deep fried peanuts, and I like the boiled, but, you know, if it comes to an arm wrestling contest between the two, I think it would have to be fried. Has to be deep fried. You eat them shell and all, baby. Oh, it's so good. So good. And in my experience, you can only get them in Eastern Tennessee. I don't know why that is. It's a real Eastern Tennessee delicacy, whereas boiled peanuts are definitely a regular Southern thing. I mean Southern. You can get boiled peanuts anywhere. Deep fried, Eastern Tennessee. And 1 or 2 remote outposts hither and yon. I seem to remember getting a bag of fried peanuts in Wilmington, North Carolina once, but only once. It's kind of like liver mush. You can only really get liver mush in the Raleigh, Charlotte, Hickory triangle. Like if you're in Morganton, you're going to get as much liver mush as you want. But you get out of that area, liver mush ain't happening. But I've said before, if anybody makes a vegan liver mush, I would be all over that, Jack. Because I've been in the same room, the same kitchen where liver mush is being fried. And I must say that as a 23-year practicing vegan, that liver mush smelled good. Just saying. Just saying. Sure smelled good. And if you culinary types out there, there's your homework. Vegan liver mush. Mike Lester says, fresh peanuts out of the shell. Yeah, that's cool. I can dig that. Walt Wheat says that in Mississippi it's bold peanuts. I think biled is more of like also a Tennessee thing. But Fried, kids, fried. So does anybody out there know why, all of a sudden, I am selling many copies of this Reverend Jim Jones album? I released this on TPOS 6 or 7 years ago. It is a vinyl pressing of the complete last sermon at Jonestown before everybody lined up and drank the Flavor Aid. And this has been kind of a sleeper. You know, I'm actually down to like my last 100 copies of this. I pressed 1,000 of them. Down to actually fewer than 100. But for the last week, for the last 7 days, for some reason, I've been selling 2 or 3 of these every single day. Does anybody know why that is? I mean, the events occurred in November of 1978, and here we are in the middle of May. But why? Cindy wants one. Cindy, you want one? Talk to me, Cindy. I still have some left, fewer than 100, but I got them. To hear it on cassette is one thing. To hear it on vinyl is another. The cover, designed by myself and executed by my good friends at OFNR Studios. The label, beautiful black vinyl, genuine graphics from the Jonestown Agricultural Experiment, done in full cooperation with the Jonestown Institute of San Diego State University. They supplied the materials and the blessing to do this, so here it is. Been selling an awful lot of these the last week. I'm very happy that I have been, but it's just odd. There's some kind of force driving people to buy this, and they've all been buying them on Discogs, not eBay, and most of the people buying them have been first-time users, you know, or newbies to Discogs. It's really, really strange. It's a very definite pattern I'm noticing. And I'm darn happy, man. I love to sell records. It's how I pay my bills. It's how I pay for Harry the Cat's very expensive prescription cat food. Just saying. I think he's out in the catio right now enjoying this beautiful New England late spring day. He'll probably be showing up eventually, but yeah, Harry's on very expensive prescription cat food. So the products that I sell on Discogs, eBay, and Bandcamp go to subsidize his cat food. So anytime you buy a Reverend Jim Jones album, you know that the money is going to a very good cause, and that is the cause of our fabulous, furry, feline, fang-faced, felicitous, ferocious, fine dude, Harry the Cat. Let's drink a toast in absentia to Mr. Harry the Cat. So, yeah. Cindy is saying, let's book a show together soon so we can make our favorite kind of peanuts and let the people judge. Cindy, I like the way you think. And I'm sure you will like watching us all eat boiled versus fried peanuts. Ooh, yes. Fun in the southern sun. Let's make a date of it. Florida, Alabama, Mississippi, North Carolina, Georgia, anywhere you want. And if we miraculously get the resources to do it here in Connecticut, let's do it. Let's just do it. Woo! All right. We're getting there, kids. We're getting there. I was going to talk about tour swag, and I've already talked about one very important piece of tour swag. I'm going to address the rest, but first, we got to do a very quick check of the bulletin board and a very quick check in the mailbox. The bulletin board, we've got a couple of exciting events for you. Yes, we do. June 14th, Brooklyn, New York, Ultra Bunny, my incomparable, irrepressible, irrefutable, possibly insufferable, but definitely unsuperable space, noise, improv, rock band. If you people can relate to Hawkwind, or Flipper, or The Fall, or maybe Joy Division, Ultra Bunny should be able to float your noisy boat. I play the bass. My longtime musical compatriot Bob Bunny plays something resembling guitar, although the way he plays it, you wouldn't know it was a guitar. And we've got our occasional drummer, young Evan, on the drums. So it is a power trio. It's all improv, but it ain't no jazz, kids. It's rock. It is rock and roll. And the way it works is usually I will just make up a bass line. Evan will jump in on the drums, and then Bob will spray the entire mixture with noxious sonic gases emanating from his custom-made Univox guitar. It is quite a sight to see and quite a, what would you call it? A sound to hear. So June 14th, Young Ethel in Brooklyn with the great Martin BC and his collective, Mustafina and No Love Songs. This will be probably the last Ultra Bunny show for quite some time, because once I pull up stakes and move to North Carolina, as I am actively working on every single day, I won't be seeing these guys too often, so it's going to be far more catch as catch can. So if y'all want to see Ultra Bunny, book a plane ticket. JFK is nearby, LaGuardia is nearby, Newark is accessible. Several major metropolitan airports will serve the area, so you can get to see Ultra Bunny in Brooklyn on June 14th, a rare occasion. You know what's another rare occasion? When one of our favorite venues has a 38th anniversary. Yes, one of ANTiSEEN's favorite venues, our home away from home, Ground Zero in Spartanburg. They're having their 38th anniversary, and guess who's on top of the bill? Well, it might be EYEHATEGOD. It might be ANTiSEEN. You might want to call that a co-headliner, our pals, EYEHATEGOD. And J.D. Pincus, one-time member of the Butthole Surfers. That might be a triple headliner. We might have to have another arm wrestling contest to see who the actual, quote, headliner is. There, my friends, is not 1 ounce of fat on that bill. Not even a gram. That is the very definition of all killer, no filler. There are no sheep intestines in that hot dog. There are no beef rectums in that sausage. That is exactly what it is. 3 killer acts. That is June 22nd at the Ground Zero in Spartanburg. I have a prediction that tickets are going to sell very rapidly and very vigorously. It's very dangerous to do things like predict a sellout, but you might want to assume that's going to happen for this one, because that's a damn good bill. And of course, coming up also is the ANTiSEEN appearance at the Beer Olympics in Atlanta. We are co-headlining the third day with the Anti-Heroes, who are fellow TKO recording artists with ANTiSEEN. So ANTiSEEN, Anti-Heroes, TKO recording artists, 1-2 knockout punch on the third day of the Beer Olympics. So that's, I think, September 1st, I believe. It's the weekend of September 1st. We'll have more details as they come. I'm sure it's out there. If you look up Beer Olympics 2024, you'll find out everything you need to know. Man, that's going to be fun. I love playing shows with the ANTiSEEN, man. We get to play with the best bands and hang out with the best people. Can I get an amen on that? Amen. Here's a tangent. KIF, Knowledge is for Fools, from Raleigh, North Carolina. We get to play with them a lot. And this is a pre-release CD of, I believe, a full-length album they recorded recently. KIF are a lot of fun, and they really know their stuff. If you dig 70s hard rock with an extremely tongue-in-cheek twist, but delivered with great skill, Knowledge is for Fools. KIF. We love playing with those guys. We love playing with EYEHATEGOD. In fact, check this out, guys. You want a hot insider tip? I'm going to give you a hot insider tip right now. I've talked much about TPOS, my label, and how I'm constantly grinding out product. Well, you know what's going to be making its debut at the Spartanburg show on June 22nd with EYEHATEGOD? A very appropriate piece of merch. A cassette tape. Cassette. Because the cassette is still to this day the linchpin, the building block of my empire. A cassette, mind you, of, guess what? Those guys on one side and us guys on the other. And this is the very first prototype cassette that I've made. on upcycled, vintage, high-quality chrome tape. I Hate God, ANTiSEEN, split cassette. Recorded on the tour that we did together back in 2019. Most of it in Chapel Hill, North Carolina, with a few fun songs from our set in Jacksonville the night after. 74 minutes of prime Destructo rock and music to take as needed by ANTiSEEN and I Hate God. These will be making their world debut at the merch table, actually both merch tables of us and them, June 22nd in Spartanburg. Oh, yeah. See? Lots of tangents. We looked at the bulletin board. Let's look at the mailbox. Let's look at the mailbox, shall we? Well. I mentioned this a couple of weeks ago. Maybe it was last week, but I got in the mail last week. Speaking of cassettes, the brand new release on Rotten Princess Records, the Fried Man Boy Mouth cassette. Fried Man is my noise project, pure noise. Sound sculptures, soundscapes. And this has an exclusive sound sculpture called Uncle Saul's Phone Call. And Boy Mouth do their thing on the B-side. We have a split CD with Boy Mouth as well. And I've done a few compilation tracks for Rotten Princess Records. My good pal Dan Bale out in Portland, Oregon. I met him in the unlikely city of Jackson, Michigan, a bunch of years ago while I was on tour, and made his acquaintance yet again in Portland, Oregon when I was on tour with Profanatica last year. So Dan's one of those guys who is DIY until he dies. They're going to have to stretcher him out. He's a good dude. I love his label. So I got plenty of these. He sent me a box of them. If you guys want one, let me know. The price will be right. Anyway, what did I get in the mail today? I got one package in the mail today. One. And as you can see, it is unopened. It is sealed with heavy-duty paper tape. I know what's in it, but I haven't seen this yet. Haven't heard it yet either. Got the 1 mile box cutter. We're still working on mile number 2. I think we're up to about 1.5 miles on this one. The 1 mile box cutter, making another mile 1 inch at a time. Swift and terrible. We break the tape. And now I very carefully, don't want to wave this thing around like I'm in an Ed Wood movie. Be more careful than I am, kids. Now I very gently, slowly and deliberately cut the tape on the seal. We open up the box. Ooh, now that's a well-packed item. Look at that. Sealed on the inside. Come back here. My old pal Jillski, my BFF forever, Jill. Oh, Jill. Makes me very happy when Jill tunes in. I've known Jill since I was in 12th grade, and she was a mere freshman. Sometimes the word BFF really does mean something. Jillski. Hi. And Jill likes the TPOS shirt. Thanks, Jill. This is a unique, one-of-a-kind shirt made by my good pals, the Crawfords. Greg and Jennifer. Thank you, Crawfords, for dressing me so well. Here we go. One more slice of tape is opened up. And now the box cutter's got 1.3 miles and 4 inches on it. We're opening the box. You're removing the protective pad. We see a wonderful die-cut sticker from Cascade Record Pressing, home of, TKO, ANTiSEEN's label for many years. And there it is. You guys have heard me waxing rhapsodic about these thingies right here, kids. You all know what this is, right? Do you know what this is? Can you say what this is? I mean, obviously it's a record. It's in a white jacket. It's got a white sleeve. It has extremely minimalist, at least in terms of information, labels. It says it's from Cascade. What's on say on the other side? Huh? The other side's got a date and what is most likely a job number. Greg Lathrop. Greg, I hope I pronounced your last name correctly. That it is indeed Lathrop or not Lathrop or Lathrop or Lathrop or whatever. It is a test pressing. Yes, a test pressing. Woo! It's got real shiny, fresh, clean grooves on it too. I love that. That is so cool. Very satisfying to have a test pressing. What's it a test pressing of? You guys are so lucky I'm going to tell you what it's of. TKO Records. Full length 12-inch vinyl. Mike Zymanski says, is this live now? Well, right now it is, yes. 7:28 p.m., May 22nd, 2024. This is live. Everybody is seeing this for the first time ever right here, right now. Test pressing full-length vinyl of the latest ANTiSEEN full-length opus, Falls Count Anywhere. Oh boy, yeah. You've heard me talk about this one before. 14, not 1, not 2, not 3, but 14 songs about professional wrestling on one CD. This, of course, is my fully autographed copy. Pour moi in my personal museum. This was a really fun project to do. We recorded this entire thing in one day. Sir Barry Hannibal, drummer of ANTiSEEN, set up an entire recording studio situation in our practice space. Got everything mic'd up, did a full-blown, I think, 16-track recording of it, mixed it. I think Jeff did almost all of his vocals in one day. We knocked the whole thing out in basically one day. And then Barry took some time for the mixing and the mastering, the production, and sweetening and souring and doing all the things you do to make an album. And the result was Falls Count Everywhere. And the original intent was to do this as kind of an event-only thing. We were going to release this specifically for the Eat the Turnbuckle Battle Royal Bloodbath that we played in Philadelphia a couple of months ago. And it was going to be basically for that event. But dadgummit, this thing's got legs. It took off and has a life of its own. And we have, from my understanding, just about sold out of the entire first printing of this on CD. Which, great, you know, we weren't expecting that, but we're certainly happy that it happened. I do have a few copies for sale, just saying. You don't get my personal autographed copy, but you will have a copy of it from my own hands if you want. So anyway, the sales on the CD were so brisk that vinyl just had to follow, you know? Vinyl just had to follow. And so that's what this is the test pressing of, the vinyl version of Falls Count Anywhere, which pending approval of said test pressing, which I'm going to give it a listen tonight, while I'm eating my, traditional big bag of nuts, berries, twigs, and tree bark with some leaves for dessert, I'm going to give this a listen with my critical cloth ear, and we'll see if it's a yay or a nay. I predict a yay. Either way, it's going to be fun to listen to it, baby. Falls Count Anywhere, test pressing. And it's really cool because, the Falls Count Anywhere, even though it's a full-length album, was never meant to take away the thunder or the glory from our most recent, blood, toil, tears, and sweat produced full-length album, Great Disasters. This one was done over a period of months, if not maybe even years. This album was basically in the works when I first joined the band 5 years ago. And man, did we go through some amputations, tribulations, and trials, and a few smiles as well to get this thing done, So this is kind of like ANTiSEEN's latter-day magnum opus, Great Disasters. And Falls Count Anywhere, somewhat unexpectedly, is now hot on its heels. Go figure. How many bands do you know who can release not one, but two full-length albums in the space of a year and cause such a ruckus? So many ripples. So many busted eardrums. Who else? No one else I can think of. Just saying. We got some comments. Ah, yes, Jill says, so Falls Count Anywhere will bring back memories of watching Dusty Rhodes destroying a Chevy with a sledgehammer. Ah, see, that's championship wrestling from Florida, kids. In my opinion, the best wrestling promotion that ever existed. Championship wrestling from Florida. My golden era for that promotion was 75 to 81. And they did a lot of good stuff afterwards, too. But those were the years that I watched it every single Sunday on WCIX, Channel 6, Miami. Channel 33 on your UHF dial, with occasional reruns on Channel 23. Canal 23. WLTV. Miami, Florida. The Spanish language radio station in Miami that showed championship wrestling from Florida as a rerun, and also showed the Lucha Libre from NWA Los Angeles. And NWA Los Angeles was pretty cool, but championship wrestling from Florida was the best. It was the best. And I know this is where we get into the argument about, well, no, Mid-Atlantic was the best, no, Mid-South was the best, no, Dallas was the best, Madison Square Garden was the best. Hey, guys, let's just agree to disagree on this, okay? It's like, whatever your first album by your favorite band was, will always be your favorite album by them. Doesn't matter if it was Muscle of Love by Alice Cooper, or Tonight by David Bowie, or Grave New World by Discharge. That's always going to be your favorite. So as far as I'm concerned, it's Championship Wrestling from Florida with your host, Gordon Soley. I'll drink a toast of Danbury Tap to him. And the genius of Eddie Graham and Dusty Rhodes, you know, the booker and the number one face in the entire territory. That was good stuff. And that is in the spirit of which we recorded Falls Count Everywhere. It is a tribute, a loving tribute to the territory days of wrestling. 14 songs. Get them both, either from the ANTiSEEN Big Cartel store or yours truly. ANTiSEEN's got the vinyl on this one. I don't have any vinyl of this one. I have the Japanese CD from the great Jackhammer Records of Japan, who released this for us. Thank you, Jackhammer. I have some CDs, but the TKO vinyl is only available from the ANTiSEEN Big Cartel store. And I am very, very proud of this album. And this one. Did I mention, too, Outsider Magazine? I've got an article in this magazine about the Discharge debacle of Grave New World. Anybody who orders something from me, I'll be happy to throw in a copy of Outsider Magazine. Fine magazine from the Hudson Valley, covering lots of punk rock and hardcore topics of interest. I usually have an article in Outsider Magazine whenever it comes out. So, yeah, well, we've gone 35 minutes, and I have yet to talk about tour scores in depth. Other than, of course, the can of Bold Peanuts and the KIF Super Secret Advanced CD. What else did I get while I was on the road? Well, let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. Well, I got several CDs. I mean, when we played Chattanooga, we got to share the stage with the great Sweet Georgia Brown. Some of you guys might remember Sweet Georgia Brown from when he was in Hellstomper. He also opened up for us at the ANTiSEEN 40th anniversary in Spartanburg. And Sweet Georgia Brown is a one-man band, and he lights the place up. And he played with us in Chattanooga and gave me a copy of his brand new Best Of CD. Very excited to hear this. Next road trip, that's going in the CD player. And from Andy Miller of KIF, an Eric Moore of the Gods CD. And I must stress, this is the Gods, G-O-D-Z, Gods from Ohio, not the Gods who were on ESP Records. The Gods from Ohio were far superior. And here's an album by Eric Moore of the Gods And you know I'm excited to hear this, because judging by the Gods' pedigree and their output, it's going to rock. It's going to rock. Thank you, Andy. Thank you also for the Gods Fest CD, which is a celebration of the life of Eric Moore. Thank you. And for the Yeah CD. All of these are going to be listened to on my next drive to North Carolina. Yes! And also in Chattanooga, my pal Eric America. I met Eric while I was selling records at Bard College, way up in Red Hook, New York. And I'll take credit for washing his brain and turning him on to ANTiSEEN and GG and the Confederacy of Scum Bands. This is a completely unreleased and will never be released body of music from Eric, which he kindly put on CD for me, and which I'm really excited to hear, because his stuff is really good. Really good. Really heartfelt, really honest, really well done. So Eric America, thank you for that. What else did I get while I was on the road? Oh boy. What else? Well, as we all know, because I've talked about it so many times, my modus operandus when I'm on the road is to load my vehicle up with crates, boxes, and trays of TPOS merchandise, and visit the varied and sundry record stores that I find along the way. And, you know, these days, knock on whatever Space Age Formica my desk is made of, whatever it's made of, we knock on it and make the observation that this is a very, very good time for record stores. A very good time for vinyl, which is such a refreshing turnaround from where things were back in 2007, 2008, when somebody was actually able to make a documentary about the decline and fall of record stores in the U.S. Here we are 17 years later, and I can stop in towns like Winchester, Virginia, Shepherdsville, where was I? Hold on. Winchester, Virginia, Shepherdsville, West Virginia, Martinsburg, Virginia, Hickory, North Carolina, and of course some of the big cities like, you know, DC and Charlotte and Philadelphia and Richmond. I can go to any number of cities and find at least one good record store that has good taste in music and likes to buy TPOS product. And so, you know, we'll do our wheeling and dealing. And what I always tell them, I always tell the person behind the counter, don't give me the money yet. Or, you know, don't hit the send button on the Venmo or the PayPal or whatever. Don't do that yet. Because if you do that, I'll just put it in my pocket and walk out. Let me do some browsing first. Let me take a look around your bins and see what you got. And then we'll just knock that off with a total. And so because of that, I typically do come back with some really cool vinyl. A fair amount of which is for sale and some of which is for myself. So here's a few things I picked up on my last trip. I was at a really cool shop called Hippo Records in Greensboro, North Carolina. Hello, Patrick, if you're watching. Hello, the other Patrick, if you're watching. And I was going through the bins and I found this really neat. I'm not even really a big fan of this group, but the packaging was just so cool. I'm going to assemble it here for you. A Clear live album from 1970 by Soft Machine, one of England's great prog groups. And, I mean, the packaging is just so great. Clear vinyl, clear sleeve. Are we clear? Yes, we are. The only bit that has any sort of opacity to it is, for some reason, a very tiny little label in the middle. I've never seen a record like this before. Utterly unique in my experience. So, yeah, I got this Soft Machine record. And believe it or not, this one is for sale. I'm not going to keep this one. This one is a sell copy. So if anybody wants this, hit me up. Let me know. I'll quote you a price. You'll say yay, you'll say nay. Maybe we'll do some business. Relieve me of the burden of carrying around this great Soft Machine record. Got that. Also at Hippo Records in Greensboro. Whoops. This one just caught my eye. I knew nothing about it, but it's by this band called Implosion. It's an Italian synth band. The description on the Hype label said, obscure yet outstanding 80s Italian outfit, combining space rock, prog, psychedelia, and proto-electronica. That sounds like something right up my alley. And double LP for $10. Ain't no way I was going to say no. $10 in trade, mind you. Let's see what it's made of. Nice black inner sleeve. Black Italian vinyl. I'm assuming it's Italian. I don't know if it was actually pressed in Italy or not, but yep, 2 albums in impeccable condition. In a deluxe gatefold sleeve. You know what? I'm going to take this shrink wrap off, because they are made to be played after all. That's the back. That's the front. Ooh, and that's what I like. Lots of liner notes. Lots of stuff to read while you listen to it. Oh, yes. And I think this was a record scam day release as well. So they probably only pressed 812,000 of them in a limited edition. I guess occasionally the people at Record Scam Day do perform a good deed. When they get stuff like this on the market, just by dint of its very existence, that's pretty cool. As far as the overpriced Franklin Mint reissue garbage that they crank out at hyperinflated prices, not so much. And in my experience, it is the Franklin Mint souvenir stand junk that far outweighs the really cool, obscure archival releases. That's one man's opinion. What can I tell you? If you guys love Record Store Day, please go and support your local independent record store every day. Not just Record Store Day, every day. Visit them every day, every week, every once in a while. Just go by there and check out what they got. Don't wait just for Record Scam Day. Go there regularly. Good, honest, hard-working Joes and Josephines trying to make a living off of music, which is the best. Alan Versapella says the only STD record he ever bought was the Death Piggy release. Now, see, that's cool. That's obscure hardcore right there. Originals of that are impossible to find. So, see, that's kind of cool. This Implosion thing, that's kind of cool. A $48 blue vinyl reissue of Simon & Garfunkel Bridge Over Troubled Water. Nope. Of course, that was just a theoretical example. I doubt that there is any such a thing, but you know what I'm talking about. I'm talking about that spirit. How about this? After they were the Bay City Rollers, they tried to be apparently a hard rock band just called the Rollers. And I read an interview with these guys in an old magazine, I think it was Circus, where they bemoaned the fact that when they were the Bay City Rollers and were teeny bop, screaming Mimi idols, they were never allowed to rock as hard as they wanted to. And I kind of believe that, because I've got a couple of Bay City Rollers records. It's a Game being one of them. And there are a couple of really good songs in that record that do really rock. Wouldn't You Like It is one of them. So when I read that interview, my curiosity was automatically piqued. And sure enough, I found this album by the Rollers. How many Bay City Rollers are on it? Eric Faulkner, Derek Muir, Derek Longmuir, Stuart Wood, Alan Longmuir, and Duncan, whatever his last name is. Basically everybody except the lead singer, whose name I forget, and who the one time I saw the Bay City Rollers live struck me as being a total creep. Once again, just one man's opinion. So it's everybody but that lead singer's whose name I can't remember. And it's just the Rollers. Look, it's got a picture of a fancy red pill on it, and the name of it is Elevator. Have not heard it yet. Very curious to see if it does indeed rock. the way that they complained they weren't allowed to. Very curious indeed. Picked this up while I was on the road. Oh yeah, good stuff, good stuff. Here's something. I was talking about this guy to, I think I was talking to Mondo Braswell, ANTiSEEN's Road Dog and Merch Man. Mondo's got very good taste in music and he's very knowledgeable. But for some reason, he did not know about Root Boy Slim. He did not know about Root Boy Slim and the Sex Change Band. And if you don't know about Root Boy Slim, well, I'm happy to tell you a little bit about Root Boy Slim. Root Boy Slim was from Maryland, and he had one album on Warner Brothers Records, one album out on IRS Records, and then a few releases on independent labels. And he just, for about 5 or 6 seconds, made a bit of a splash in the marketplace, in the late 70s, and then just vanished without a trace. I think that the fact that the guy was probably mentally ill might have had something to do with it. From what I understand, he would go out to one of the local 7-Elevens around the Silver Spring area and set up a card table outside and sell his records. You know, it was kind of one of those deals. But man, his Warner Brothers album especially is great. It's just like really wild. What's the proper term to use? White boy funk. You know, with a real wacky sense of humor and a very, very eccentric worldview. There's a song in there called I Lost My Wig, which is all about a guy who goes to a disco and his wig falls off. Fantastic stuff, man. You can't make it up. Awesome. So I was very happy to pick up this copy of a latter-day Root Boy Slim record. I think I got this in Greensboro as well. At a pretty good price. Haven't played it yet, but if it's anywhere near as good as his first couple of albums, I'm going to love it. What are some of the song titles on here? They Don't Sing on the Corner. I Fell Down. House Band in Hell. It's Only Murder. When You Date the Undead. Health Spa Lady. Computer Lover. I have a suspicion that these topics are all tackled with an extreme wacky sensibility. Looking forward to it. By the way, that one's not for sale. And neither is the Implosion album. This one is for sale. Y'all know how much I love Phil Ochs. Big, big fan of Phil Ochs. Love his voice. Love his guitar playing. Love his songwriting. When I saw this copy of Chords of Fame, which is a double LP, Best of Phil Ochs, which is liberally salted and peppered with rare tracks, and the price was really good, I had to pick it up. Of course, I've already got one for myself. This is for sale. If you guys want to check out Phil Ochs, this is a really, really good primer to his catalog. This has got stuff from both of his record labels, too. It's got stuff from both Elektra and A&M. The Elektra stuff he did early in his career is more singer-songwriter folky stuff. And what he did later on with A&M was more avant-garde, full band, less topical, but no less wonderful. You know, it's got the classics, I Ain't Marching Anymore, Draft Dodger Rag, Bound for Glory, There But for Fortune, I'm Gonna Say It Now. Crucifixion is on here. It's got the live version of Crucifixion, which is just him and his guitar, and it's fantastic. So yeah, excellent primer outside of a small circle of friends. Excellent primer with a lot of tracks that are hard to find. It seems like every once in a while, every decade or so, someone will reissue a Phil Ochs album or a compilation and put lots of bonus cuts on it. It doesn't sell very well. It goes out of print and becomes hard to find. This is one of them, and they did a great job. Look at all those liner notes. Liner notes, liner notes, liner notes. Man, it's for sale. Hit me up. Also for sale, another hobby horse record of mine I've talked about a bit. Ellen Foley, The Spirit of St. Louis. That's the front. That's the back. That's the inner sleeve. That's the inner sleeve. Why would I be marking out over an Ellen Foley record? You know, her biggest claim to fame probably being as Meatloaf's backing singer on Paradise by the Dashboard Light. Why would I care about an Ellen Foley record? Well, she ain't bad. Not really my bag of tea, but this album here, written, performed, and produced by Ellen Foley's boyfriend's band, plus some special guests. So Alan Versapellis guessed it already. But if you guys didn't see Alan's comment, in fact, it'd be fun to put your hand over the comments section and take a guess as to who Ellen Foley's boyfriend was and who his band was. I'll take a sip of water or chemical sludge, whichever it may be, depending on how optimistic you are, while I patiently wait for the results to roll in. Remember, guys, this is live on Facebook on May 22nd at 7:50 whatever p.m. Of course, if you're watching the rerun on either Facebook or YouTube, that's the price you pay for not being here live. You get to see the waiting, but you don't get to feel the suspense. Well, it doesn't matter. Alan already let the bag out of the cat. It is The Clash. The Clash wrote, produced, and performed this album with Ellen Foley on lead vocals. And some of their cohorts, I'm pretty sure that Mickey Gallagher is on this from the Blockheads. Yep. Norman Watt Roy from the Blockheads is on the bass. I think it's Davey Payne on saxophone. The Clash and their regular cohorts from the Blockheads backing up Ellen Foley. This is a great album. I love this album. This is an album that pretty much nobody knows anything about. And I love it because not only is it a good album, but it shows what the Clash were capable of when they weren't bound and constricted by being the Clash. And they could write from the perspective of somebody who is not in the Clash. And not only that, a female perspective. So it's a real eye-opener showing you what those guys could do when they weren't, constricted by being who they were. Great album. I love this album. Obviously, I've got one or two in my personal collection. If you guys want to own this, talk to me. I will hook you up with this copy that I picked up while I was on tour with the almighty ANTiSEEN. And Larry Mann pointed out that the missing Bay City Roller was Les McCown, whatever, Les whatever, who, when I saw the Bay City Rollers live in 1997, definitely came off as a total creep. So, who knows, maybe the Rollers are better off without him. Who knows? Who knows? Maybe next week I'll let you guys know when I've given it a listen, along with the Implosion record and the Root Boy Slim record. I'll give you guys a post-mortem analysis of those three albums and let you know if they were worth picking up. I suspect that they were. So anyway, one more swig of Danbury Tap. Toasting to all of you guys. Thanks for tuning in, as always. Really appreciate it when you guys watch Tent Talks Tunes and listen to Tent Talks Tunes and make comments and interact with each other. This is what it's all about. We're all just sort of hanging out and having a good old time, being music geeks and music freaks. And Larry just pointed out that Harry did not really make an appearance. He did come in and he walked around a little bit, but he did not jump on my lap like he usually does. He just sort of checked in, got really aloof, and then checked right back out. So I'm sure that if he were in the mood and if he would deign to do so, Harry sends his regards. But I can't guarantee that. I make no promises or representations thereof. So there you go. It's the nature of a cat. Anyway, I have every intention of being back with you in 167 hours and 4 minutes. So until we meet again, this is Malcolm Tent saying so long from the Nutmeg State.